and welcome to World News on TVP World. I'm Marie Cato. Washington has suspended all military aid to Ukraine. The move affects more than $1 billion in arms and ammunition, including the ones still in the pipeline. At the same time, Russia continues relentless attacks on the country. Let's bring in our Kyiv correspondent Oz Chatterjee, who has the latest.
The White House suspending weapons transfers to Ukraine is going to come as bitter news to Ukrainians this morning as they wake up to yet another Russian attack on the city of Odessa. 4 people were injured when civilian homes are once again targeted by Russian strikes. Now, the news that Donald Trump is pausing weapons transfers is going to be particularly significant in light of this, given that the Ukrainians are reliant on US supplies of air defense munitions for things like the Patriot missile battery system. These air defense weapons are used to bring down Russian missiles and drones targeting Ukrainian cities and killing Ukrainian civilians. Donald Trump again talked about this mineral deal in his thinking on this suspension of aid. Let's take a listen to what Donald Trump had to say to reporters on Monday night.
It's a great deal for us because, Biden very, very foolishly, stupidly, frankly, gave $300 billion and $350 billion more accurately to a country to fight and to try and do things. And you know what happened? We get nothing. We get nothing. Just gave it. We could have rebuilt our entire U.S. Navy with $350 billion. Think of it, $350 billion. We could have rebuilt our U.S. Navy. So he gave it away as fast as the money could be gone. And what we're doing is getting that all back and a lot more than that. And what we need, it's very important for this business that we're talking about here with chips and semiconductors and everything else. We need rare earths. And the deal we have is we have the finest rare earths that you can.
So the White House, they're still signaling that they are potentially interested in signing a deal with Kyiv. For Kyiv's part, they are also signaling that they are interested in signing the deal. Andriy Yermak, President Zelensky's closest advisor, said as much in a statement published on Monday night, detailing discussions he was having with American colleagues about bringing forward such a deal. President Zelensky, in his nightly address on Monday, also indicated that he seeks to bring an end to this war through diplomatic means. But again, Kyiv insisting on security guarantees for any kind of deal to be functional, with Zelensky saying the absence of security guarantees for Ukraine 11 years ago allowed Russia to start with the occupation of Crimea and the war in Donbass. Later, the absence of security guarantees allows Russia to launch a full-scale invasion. And now, due to the lack of clear security guarantees, Russia continues to fuel this war. So Zelensky and his administration there clearly indicating that they are willing to sign a deal with the United States on rare earth minerals. But the key issue for Ukraine going forward is security guarantees to prevent a kind of invasion that we saw Russia committing on Ukraine on February the 24th, 2022. It's Oz Chatterjee reporting from Kyiv for TVP World.
Polish officials are responding to Washington's decision to halt all aid to Ukraine. Our reporter Owidiusz Nicieja is covering the reactions coming from the Polish Prime Minister, Defense Minister and the Foreign Ministry. This is his report.
The Polish government today held a cabinet meeting during which the Polish Prime Minister said that it's a serious situation and that he expects his government, his ministers to be ready to act quickly and to be able to take decisions flexibly and in an extraordinary mode.
Fasten your seatbelts, because we're about to see some turbulence. Reports coming in from the border and our hub in Rzeszów confirm what the Americans are saying. This puts Europe, Ukraine and Poland in a much tougher spot, but we need to face this situation head-on. There is no denying it. The situation presents a major challenge, likely one of the biggest in terms of security. Our strategy remains in place, however, and continues to stand as a roadmap for the EU. We need to recommit to European efforts toward improving our defense capabilities and at the same time take care to maintain good transatlantic relations despite the challenging circumstances.
Polish authorities have expressed their solidarity with Ukraine, assuring that Poland's support for Ukraine will continue. Polish Deputy Prime Minister has said that America's decision to halt military aid to Kyiv was not a good one, and the spokesperson for the Polish Foreign Ministry has said that it was made without prior consultation with Poland or European or NATO allies.
This is obviously not good news, and the situation forces us to redouble our efforts. Our strategy is to keep Russia as far away from our borders as possible, and the best way to do that is to support Ukraine. This is why Poland remains committed to the mission of assisting Kyiv. We train soldiers, donate military equipment, help with logistics, and will continue to do so, because this is squarely in Poland's interest and shores up our security. Anyone who fails to understand that is mistaken and acts against Polish interests. I believe this is temporary and would like this halt to be as brief as possible. Kyiv and Washington need to return to the negotiating table.
Even though Polish authorities see Donald Trump's decision in a rather negative light, the Polish Prime Minister highlighted at the same time that it's key to maintain good relations with Washington, and he said that America is Poland's most important ally.
Ukraine remains fully committed to continuing cooperation with the administration of Donald Trump, according to Prime Minister Denys Shmyhal. At a recent press conference, the Prime Minister responded to a question regarding Trump's decision to halt military aid to Ukraine. Shmyhal reaffirmed the country's dedication to its partnership with the U.S. and an important joint economic agreement on rare earth minerals. Emphasizing Ukraine's gratitude to the U.S. as its key partner in the ongoing war, the Prime Minister expressed hope that this cooperation will continue without interruption.
Today, Ukraine is fully determined to continue cooperation with the administration of Donald Trump, the US Congress, and Donald Trump himself, so that Ukraine and the United States can continue our fight for a just, lasting, and stable peace on the European continent. I am confident that support from the United States as a global leader and one of the most significant partners who have stood by us for the past 3 years will continue. We are pragmatically seeking opportunities for cooperation, particularly in the economic sphere, including within the framework of an agreement on the joint creation of an investment fund in Ukraine. We are ready to sign it, and we will move forward in this direction.
Polish Foreign Minister Radosław Sikorski has been in contact with his Ukrainian counterpart Andriy Sybiha following the U.S. decision to halt all aid to Ukraine. The two officials discussed the next steps following this change in Washington's commitment to Kyiv.
Today, Foreign Minister Radosław Sikorski held a phone call with the Minister of Foreign Affairs of Ukraine, Andriy Sybiha. The conversation focused on US President Donald Trump's decision to suspend aid to fighting Ukraine and the consequences of this decision.
Britain's Deputy Prime Minister Angela Rayner said that the American announcement will not distract London and Europe from their mission to find a just peace for Kyiv.
Washington will no longer provide Ukraine with ammunition, vehicles and other equipment. The Bloomberg News Service reports that the decision also affects current shipments on their way to Kyiv and those in transit areas in Poland. Experts say Europe needs to react fast when it comes to rearming the continent and persuading Donald Trump to change his approach.
Europe was preparing for second term of Trump, but we did not expect this at all. And this is a shock, and we know we need to react very fast. But on the other side, the European leaders, and I think the European public opinion, expects the work on the US administration, on the US political elites, to change this position, because we cannot believe that after so many years or centuries of being so close, now we will just find ourselves in the opposite camp.
Friday saw a public spat in the White House between Volodymyr Zelensky, Donald Trump and Vice President J.D. Vance, after which the signing of a US-Ukraine minerals deal was called off. Since Trump took office, no new US aid to Ukraine has been approved. The US Congress has agreed to give Ukraine $175 billion in assistance since the beginning of Russia's full-scale invasion in 2022. Although President Trump says the total US aid given to Kyiv amounts to $350 billion.
European Commission President Ursula von der Leyen aims to mobilise roughly €800 billion in investment to support Ukrainian security and European defence. The announcement follows US President Donald Trump saying he would pause sending military aid to the war-torn country, with the EU chief signifying Europe will step up to the defence plate. EU correspondent Angela Skujins reports from Brussels.
European Commission President Ursula von der Leyen on Tuesday announced the skeleton of an audacious plan to rearm Europe. She wants to mobilise roughly €800 billion in defence investment. This will come through a €150 billion investment package, allowing member states over the next year to spend more on their military capabilities. We're talking about air and missile defensive systems, anti-drone technology and more. Another major takeaway as part of her plan is triggering the National Escape Clause. This will allow member states to spend more on defence without falling foul of the EU's strict fiscal rules. Poland has been triggered by such a measure called the excessive deficit procedure. Here is what the European Commission President Ursula von der Leyen had to say regarding this announcement on Tuesday early morning.
Be a new instrument. It will provide €150 billion of loans to member states for defence investment. This is about basically spending better and spending together. And we're talking about pan-European capabilities domains like, for example, air and missile defence, the artillery systems, missiles and ammunition, drones and anti-drone systems, but also to address other needs from cyber to military mobility, for example. This will help member states to pool demand and to buy together. And of course, with this equipment, member states can massively step up their support to Ukraine. So immediate military equipment for Ukraine.
This proposal was first laid bare in a letter to member states on Tuesday morning. Those leaders will convene on Thursday in Brussels for an extraordinary European Council summit where they will finalise their plans for financing European investment and spending. The Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky is also expected to be in attendance on Thursday, but the significance of the timing of this proposal on Tuesday comes off the back of US President Donald Trump saying that he will pause sending military aid to Ukraine. But the rhetoric that we're hearing from Brussels on Tuesday is that Europe is ready to step up to the plate and support Ukraine where it can. Angela Skujins from Brussels for TVP World.
Serbia's parliament was thrown into chaos on Tuesday as opposition MPs launched an intense protest during a legislative session. In an act of defiance against government policies and in support of ongoing student protests, several lawmakers threw smoke grenades and tear gas inside the chamber. These plumes of smoke follow months of protests triggered by the tragic collapse of a train station roof which killed 15 people, sparking widespread unrest. As the ruling Serbian Progressive Party moved to approve the parliamentary agenda, opposition MPs stormed the speaker's podium and clashed with security. 2 lawmakers were injured in the scuffle, one suffered a stroke and is in critical condition. Despite the violence, Parliament Speaker Ana Brnabić confirmed that the session would proceed, stressing that the government would continue to defend the country. The session was set to discuss a law to increase funding for universities, one of the key demands of student protesters who have been occupying educational facilities since December. Moving on to the Vatican, after suffering 2 episodes of acute respiratory failure, Pope Francis is again receiving non-invasive ventilation. The pontiff has been in the hospital for 19 days now. According to reports, the pontiff spent a fairly peaceful night at the Gemelli Clinic. The 88-year-old is currently battling double pneumonia. Last Friday, he suffered a respiratory crisis, but his condition seemed to stabilize by Monday. Francis has been in Rome's Gemelli Hospital since February the 14th. After some improvement, his condition worsened and mechanical ventilation was introduced to help with his breathing. And that's all for now. Thank you so much for joining us on World News this afternoon, and stay tuned with TVP World for more news and analysis.